Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 2 Unit 4.10 Notes, Day 2. Today we are continuing our discussion on characteristics of quadratic equations. Our learning target today is to be able to identify the intervals for which a function is increasing, decreasing, and when f of x is less than or equal to 0, and f of x is greater than or equal to 0. So, a function, f of x, is increasing if it is rising from left to right for a given interval of x values. So for which interval is f of x, or of the x values, is the function increasing? It might sound like Spanish or Chinese or some other language that you don't know, but I want to know, where is my graph increasing? So on which side do you see that it is going up and where it stops? So it's going up. It starts at negative infinity because this is where it starts to rise, and then it stops at -3. So the interval, it is increasing from negative infinity, and then at -3, it's where it stops. Okay, so then you can see this is where it's rising, and on the other side, this is where it is falling. Okay, now it changes. It's not always, oh, it's the left side, because if you look at the left side now, I'm falling on the left, and then on the right side is where I'm rising. So I start my rise, and then I keep on going. So this time I start at 4, but then I keep going to positive infinity. Okay, so our interval would be 4, comma, positive infinity. So number 3, you need to figure it out on your own. Okay, so go ahead and pause that video. Good luck. Okay, so the left side is where I am rising. That's where the graph is going up. So we would say we're starting at negative infinity, and then at -1 is where my graph stops. Okay, and on the right side is where we are falling. All right, next part. A function is decreasing if it is falling from left to right. Once again, for the x values. So now we're looking at the same thing, but now where are we falling? So you're going to be looking at the graphs again. So this time on the left side, I am rising, but on the right side is where we are falling. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking a look at where I'm falling, where I'm going down, and we start going down at 3, and then it goes from 3 to positive infinity. Okay, so we would say 3 to positive infinity is the interval that we are falling. Okay, and it changes. Once again, you need to look at the left side from left to right. That's where we're falling, and on the right side is where it is rising. Okay, so where am I falling? I start falling at negative infinity, and then I stop at 3. So the interval for that would be negative infinity to positive 3. All right, number 6, once again, you are on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so we are falling on the left side from negative infinity to negative 4. Oh, let's actually make that look like a negative infinity. That looked kind of weird. Okay, so if you were asked to find the x values for which x is greater than or equal to 0, you need to list the interval or the parts of the interval of the parabola that are above the x-axis. So we did this before and everybody hated it. They thought it was so hard, but it's really not that bad. Okay, so here is my x-axis. I need to ask myself, where are we above? And we are above from negative 4, boom, to 0. So at negative 4 to 0, we are above, and we would write that as an interval. So we are above at negative 4, and we are above at 0. Everywhere else, we are below the x-axis. Okay? Now, number 8 is a little different because as we're looking at our x-axis right there, everywhere that we are above, we're above this whole time. We're above this whole time, but from 1 to 4, or 1 to 5, we are below. So I don't want to know this part. Like, no, that's not the part I'm looking for. But see how there's a break? So that means that we are above from negative infinity to 1, and then we pick it back up again from 5 to positive infinity. So we would write that from negative infinity. Once again, I got to make that look like an infinity sign. So from negative infinity to 1, we are above. Then there's a break, and then we pick back up from 5 to positive infinity. Okay? Number 9 is the same way. Okay? I'm just going to focus on what is above. And where is it above? Well, I'm above from negative infinity to negative 1, and then there's this break, and then once again, I am above to positive infinity. Okay? So we would write that from negative infinity to negative 1, break the union, and then we pick it back up from 1 to positive infinity. Remember, the brackets are when we have a number. We use the parentheses for negative infinity or positive infinity. Okay, so now if we're supposed to ask for the x values when it's less than or equal to 0, we're looking for when it is below the x-axis, okay? So you have to pay attention to the symbol on what they are asking for. Are they asking for above or are they asking for below? Okay? So there's our x-axis. I want to know, when are we below now? Okay? I do not want to know when we are above. Okay? Not that part. So we are below from negative infinity to negative 4, and then there's that break, and we pick up again at 0 to positive infinity. So negative infinity to negative 4, my break, and then from 0 to positive infinity. All right, number 8. There's our x-axis, and I only want to know below. When are we below less than or equal to 0? Okay, well, we're less than starting at 1 and then back again from 5. That's the only time that we are below. So we would say 1 to 5 with brackets. Okay, and number 9, you guys are on your own, so go ahead and pause that video and good luck. Okay, and for number 9, that parabola is below 0, less than or equal to 0 from -1 to 1. Okay. Try these on your own. Find the interval of x values for which the function is increasing. And then we have to find when we are greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Go ahead, try them. So when we're looking at A for when it's increasing, I want to know where are we rising? And we are rising from -infinity to 0. Okay? So from -infinity to 0, that's where we are rising. Okay? Now the next part wants to know, when are we above 0? When are we above that x-axis? And we're above the x-axis this entire time. Okay? From -1 to 1, we are above the x-axis. So from -1 to 1, we are above. So -1 to 1. All right, number 2. 3 questions. Pause the video, try them on your own. Good luck. All right, so find the interval for the value when we are decreasing. So we would need to see which side we are rising and which side we are falling. Decreasing means we are falling. So we start falling at -infinity and I stop falling at 3. So that interval would be from -infinity to +3. So next is we're looking for when is it less than or equal to 0? Well, less than or equal to 0 is the whole time that it is below the x-axis. And we are below the x-axis from 2 to 4. Okay? So we would say that from 2 to 4, we are less than or equal to 0. And then the last one, number C, is saying, hey, when is it above? When are we above that axis? Well, we're above the axis from -infinity to 2, and then from 4 to +infinity is when it is above. So we have to pay attention. Is it saying greater than or is it saying less than? So for this one, greater than or equal to 0 would be from -infinity to 2, and then there's a break, and then we pick back up from 4 to +infinity. Okay? Well, guys, that's it for Algebra 2, Unit 4.10 Notes, Day 2. If you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.